Today on Grow Up, Level Up, Sunset Selects, we are going to be answering the question, 1 month later, should you still be playing Pokémon Champions? We're going to talk all about that and more on this week's episode of Grow Up, Level Up, Sunset Selects. Hit the intro. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Grow Up, Level Up, Sunset Selects, the weekly podcast where we tell you if this game is worth playing in your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. My name is Samsonxp, and we are live on YouTube today, joined by my co-host, SirDrJM. What's up, man?
What's going on? I got my new shirt on. Got this
new shirt
weekend before last weekend at the Calgary Comic Expo. Nice Twin Towers. 2 Towers shirt here. Got Gandalf.
Twin
Got some
Towers.
Frodo. Yeah. Whoops. Exclamation point, never forget. Anyways.
Yeah. Dude, that's nice. I think this is where I admit I never watched Lord of the Rings. But hey, we're here to also welcome friend of the show and fellow Pokemon knower, Alexander Kozina AKA Kozibear. Welcome to the show, man.
Spoilers for the central question that we're asking on this episode. Definitely play this game if you want your life to just go down a drain hole.
Oh, okay.
It is very addictive.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm excited to dive into more because, yes, the question we are answering is Pokemon Champions, the battle simulator that came out on April 8th, 2026, is it worth playing a month later on today's date, May 7th, 2026? Or if you're catching this later, May 8th, we're about a month out. That's the whole theme there. That's the question we're answering today. Of course, we are answering it live on twitch.tv/growuplevelup. Joining us in the chat is L Gator. We got Heroic Headgear, Gianni DeCrosta, welcome in. Kayla Gray, welcome in. The Drop In Dropout Pod, and more in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Quentin1991, of course, thank you for joining us in the chat. And hey, if you like what you hear, like what you're listening to, make sure you follow at Grow Up Level Up, not only on Twitch or on YouTube, but everywhere that you may have a social media account. We post every week talking about various topics, talking about the games that we're playing, doing previews, doing interviews. We do it all to celebrate the games that helped us grow up and the games that we should be playing today as adults. That's my little spiel. But like I said, the topic of the day is, should you be playing Pokemon Champions a month later? Now, how should we do this? I'll go over what Pokemon Champions is. Pokemon Champions available on Nintendo Switch, not on iOS or Android yet. Very soon.
Not yet. It's
a competitive-focused, turn-based battle spin-off of the Pokemon battling game. It centers entirely on multiplayer battling, featuring ranked, casual, tournament modes, and can connect with Pokemon Home for team building. It is designed as the designated video game championship platform, replacing the mainline events, which is Scarlet and Violet, at official events, and will include mechanics like Mega Evolution with more to be added. Now, that's a lot of rambling. So, Pokemon Champions came out a month ago. I downloaded it. Jordan, did you download it?
I don't have a Switch 2. I did not download it. Is it only on Switch 2? It's on Switch 1 as well?
Currently, at the moment, it's only on Switch 2.
Oh, it is?
Is it really? No, it's got to be on Switch 1.
I feel like that would be a bit of a blunder for them, but somebody, we have the technology.
Let me check. I've been so down the drain hole that I haven't even really given much thought to it.
Yeah, chat, keep us honest. L Gator in the chat, Lucas is saying it is on Switch 1.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I did not download it. I really wanted to kind of wait and see what the reception was. I watched a stream or two in those early days, and I know when it first came out, it was maybe a little rough, but I'm excited to find out if it's worth getting into now.
Alex, aka Kozibear, what about you? Did you download Pokemon Champions?
I have just been matched with a person whose name I can't pronounce.
To play right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'll let you know how it goes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, he's gonna battle. You're gonna battle right now in the middle of the podcast.
I got to keep the grind on. I got to keep the grind on.
Wow.
But I'll answer any question you want to answer while we do this.
That's impressive. Not gonna lie. That's impressive. Not gonna lie. So before we go into our thoughts on Pokemon Champions, I don't want to spoil how much we've played or all that. Maybe we got a little taste on as well. Lucas in the chat says he's got a battle on going on at the same time. I want to pull in some community submissions. I asked our Instagram community earlier in the day, have you been playing Pokemon Champions? Why or why not? We got Russell Jang, coming in the chat or coming in the Instagram reply saying no, because I'm not interested in competitive Pokemon. Okay. We got friend of the show, Yan Juan Colin, my cousin actually. He runs the Good Mart, which you might catch at some Pokemon vendor shows, card shows. Cool. He says, yes, it reminds me of the OG Pokemon Stadium.
Okay.
And finally, I'm glad. I was concerned when you started off with the one guy. I was like, nah, don't give a shit. Like, we're all the people that you've reached out to going to be like, nah, I don't want to play this game. That sometimes happens, and it makes me really upset.
That does happen. Last person that replied on Instagram, Coastal Mamacita, says no, never started. So a wide range of replies there. I want to read one more reply before we dive into our go. I asked my one friend who has said I hit Master Ball in like the first week or whatever. I asked him, hey, are you still playing? Do you want to write it on the show? He said, I'll do in a bit. I thought he was just going to give me like a couple word answer. He wrote me a paragraph. So friend of the show, Aaron, said, I've been an avid Pokemon fan my whole life, but the competitive scene never really drew me in because the time commitment to make completely viable Pokemon was too much of a barrier for entry. Scarlet and Violet made it more accessible than before, but even though I was still able to make competitive teams, I'd never found myself giving competitive a try. Champions had made it so simple that to build a team, Champions has made it so simple to build a team and experiment. The more limited roster of available Pokemon and items was disappointing at first, but design-wise, I feel now was a much more healthy decision for the game at launch. It's not perfectly balanced, but there's so much experimentation being done where it feels like you can find success with your favorites. But facing so many Archaludons has given me a phobia of bridges. Interesting. I like the meta. I like Marchaludon in the card game. We'll come back around to the card game. I almost forgot to bring it up. But those are kind of the friends and family thoughts about Pokemon Champions so far. I want to dive in with Jordan first. Pokemon Champions, my question to you is, do you plan on playing Pokemon Champions at all?
I'm realizing right here and right now, you know what I am? I'm the late game sweeper of this podcast. You don't put me out right up front. You keep me at the back of the podcast. You keep me at the back because you know that once I start talking, I'm not going to stop talking. And so you need to make sure that you keep me reserved until the very end. So you're just going to read off people and let them
sweeper. All right.
And let them share their opinions because you know that Kozi's going to come in at the end and clean up.
Let's do it. Let's do Jordan, me, and then you, Kozi. Let's go that order. Jordan, tell me about why you haven't started Pokemon Champions.
Honestly, I gotta shut up Blaster Goblin in the chat. He said I installed Pokemon Champions at launch and have never opened it. I feel a lot like if I were to even download it, that would be me. Am I interested in it? Yes, because it's Pokemon. But as someone who didn't grow up with an N64, has a tiny bit of nostalgia for Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2. And as we all know, never even really played the mainline Pokemon games. My Pokemon fandom is so weird because I love Pokemon as a thing. I love the anime, of course, and the little pocket monsters. But the games for some reason are something that have never really grabbed me that much. Of course, I'm an avid trading card game pocket player. I think I just collected my 11,000th card the other day. I've been playing that steadily since launch, so that's exciting. But that's really the only thing that speaks to me on that level in a Pokemon sense. If Champions, I think, were something that everyone was into, and also I do think if it were on iOS an Android, but specifically iOS because I have an iPhone, I might actually give it a shot. And I know they do plan to bring it to mobile platforms. And obviously that's
don't
only
tell me that
gonna...
was a crit. No, it wasn't a crit. He took out my Mega Gengar, but we're good. I'm still in the lead. I just got off a sword dance.
And using one of my favorites too, Mega Gengar. That's all. I'm sure you can notice the Gengar to my left here, which of course Samson got me while he was in Japan.
It was a little hidden.
Yes. So yeah, the game and Pokemon games in general just have never really spoke to me. But again, it's kind of that. It's another one of those games that, you know, you get into it and you could get sucked in and just, it's never going to end. You know, you could just keep on playing it. And I don't know if I need another one of those in my life, but maybe when it comes to iOS, I'll jump in.
I echo that. For myself, I like competitive games, as the audience would know, as you know, Jordan. I do like competitive games, so much so, in fact, that I, about a year ago, got into the competitive Pokemon trading card game. I started attending locals. I attended my first regionals earlier this year. I actually just got my tickets to go spectate Pokemon World, or to be part of Pokemon XP in San Francisco later this year. Not to compete. Qualifying for Worlds is a lot harder. But I like the competitive TCG side for it. Partially because I already like Pokemon and I like the physicalness of the cards and being in front of another person and meeting people along the way. But also because there is a lot of strategy and depth at the same time. Very simple for it. So when Pokemon Champions was announced, I was like, great. They stripped out all the catching and grinding of it. It really is just Pokemon Showdown, the simulator, but official. So now we can use it in tournaments. I have downloaded the game on launch. I booted it up, and I would say like I touch it once a week, maybe once every other week, just to see what's going on. But I feel like it's a little overwhelming because I don't know what's meta. I don't even know where to start, what held items are. Like I know like Sword Stance, Protect, Follow Me. I know there's some strategy there, but I don't know how to build like a team of my favorites while using this strategy, or like what kind of archetype or style I even like. I just feel like it's great that the field is wide open, but I don't even know where to start, which direction to go. And there's lots of YouTube resources for that as well. Yes.
Quick question. Like, have you been more focused on the solo battles or double battle side of things?
That's a great question. I tried both. I know that the video game or the VGC side is doubles, so I've been leaning towards more doubles. And this is probably because I'm like Pokeball rank, Great Ball rank. I just do the same thing I do in the normal games where I just pick the attack and hit for weakness. And then I just hope for the best. I don't really know when to use like Sword Stance, like you were saying, or Protect and all that. I don't really know.
Just used Sword Stance a couple of turns ago.
Stronger, special. No,
I'm not.
Race.
It's I'm in a little bit of an awkward spot, though. I don't know if I can win this.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Wishing you the best. Well, hopefully you win by the time we pass it over to you. Unless you could do both at the same time. That'd be really impressive. You're a pro. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really know where to start. And because of that, I'm like, do I want to put in the hours and all that to catch up on how to build a team and a strategy and to like play competitively? So with that in mind, I watched a video pretty recently. This was after Champions came out. It was from Foozly, Leslie. She's a YouTuber, Twitch streamer, and she was actually at the Seattle regionals I was at, but she was competing in the VGC side. And she's similar idea. She's like, I have a month to build a team and learn and play in the regional. And it was very interesting, like hearing her story and being like, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing. And I asked friends and I still don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm stressed. And like even though she didn't like get a crazy result, it was a little nice to see that she was still learning along the way and meeting people on the way, which is exactly what I like about the TCG. So the video game side, I love how accessible Champions has become for more people and more folks. I really do just have to put the time in to do it, and I don't know when a good time that
Your
is.
boy pulled it off. I'm going to say right here, right now, though, definitely not one of my strongest victories. I only won because Rodon missed Hydro Pump 2 times in a row.
I love that.
So yeah, it was definitely not a super hard fought victory in that regard. I'll still take it, but I definitely made a few misclicks here and there.
Hey, but I like that. You can see where you like made mistakes and where you can improve, and that's part of the fun.
I was gonna ask earlier when I was asking you about whether you were focusing on single or double battles. How far have you gotten up the competitive ranks in double battles?
Not at all. Like I said, I only played like a handful of times since launch. I booted it up this morning and did a double battle. I'm probably Pokeball like 3 or 2.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm currently at Master Ball tier 4, but I have in the past gotten as far as Master Ball tier 3. Once you get to tier 3, that's when like you really need to know how to play the meta well if you want to move up the ranks. If you don't know the meta at all, you are not going to progress much past that. Like it reaches a point where it's like, it's not just, you can put together a perfect team of Pokemon. You can copy the like most competitive players' teams, which this game allows you to readily do. But if you don't know how to actually play, you're not going to get particularly far.
Okay. I do have lots of questions for you. So like you can just, because one thing that tons of people do in the TCG is, well, in every TCG is called net decking, where you just find somebody's list and you copy paste that and you run the list. You can do that in the VGC as well?
Yeah. The game totally lets you like share teams within the app, which I actually have not explicitly like copied, like used a team made by someone else. I've used teams that I've constructed that are partially based off of teams I've seen online, but I've not explicitly just gone and been like, I'm just going to copy Wolfie VGC's team, for example.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But then to actually use it, which that's a skill on its own. The piloting of it is also
exactly
on its own. Very interesting. Okay, so Kozi, you clearly played a Skibot. You were literally playing as we record this podcast. Color me impressed. What do you think of Pokemon Champions so far 1 month out?
Oh, do we want to? Because here's the thing. I wrote quite a few notes that I wanted to bring to this here episode. And I have a lot of notes just talking about my competitive Pokemon history heading into this game. Do we want to get into some of that stuff, or do we want to hold off on that stuff until afterwards?
What? I talked a little bit about my competitive TCG side. Why don't you go ahead and talk about like your history with the VGC as well?
Okay, so first Pokemon game that I ever played to completion was Pokemon Red back in the day. But the game that really cemented my love for the franchise was Pokemon Emerald on the Game Boy Advance. I didn't participate in any competitive events for the Pokemon franchise at the time, but Emerald was definitely my first exposure to the series' more strategic side, because Emerald has a crazy challenging post-game area called the Battle Frontier that puts your knowledge of Pokemon battling to its absolute limits. It's basically this playground with these 7 different facilities, and in each facility you have like a slightly different rule set. And so it really tests your knowledge of Pokemon and really kind of forces you to use everything that's available at your disposal. Things like IVs, individual values, EVs, which are effort values, nature's stab, that stands for same type attack bonus, the most efficient way to use abilities, etc. Took me many, many years. I eventually did beat the Battle Frontier's 7 facilities, but it took me quite some time. Wow. Jumping ahead a couple of years, Black 2 and White 2, and the original Black and White for that matter, were the first Pokemon games where I actually was like, you know what? I feel like I've gained enough knowledge of these Pokemons. I'm going to try my hand at competitive Pokemon. Now, this is circa 2010. There were, in-person events. I mean, there were in-person events going back to the very beginnings of the franchise, back with like the original Pokemon Stadium games, for example. Had never participated in any in-person events and did not participate in any in-person events for Black and White 2. I only played online tournaments. This is the Nintendo DS era, so they were able to actually have these online tournaments that people could participate in. Don't remember too much about what sorts of teams I was running at the time. I definitely remember that I used Amoongus, who is not an indie game that blew up during the pandemic. He's a mushroom dude. He inflicts spore upon his enemies. He's very defensive. I also remember that I used Toxicroak. Toxicroak is a poisonous fighting frog. Unfortunately, nowadays he's kind of outclassed by this new Pokemon on the circuit called Sneasler, but we'll get to Sneasler in a bit. I wasn't very skilled. I didn't get very far in these online competitions that I participated in, but I had fun. Then after that, there was Pokemon X and Y, which were on the 3DS. My competitive senses, my disposition definitely got a little bit more heightened during that particular period. It's funny, Pokemon X and Y, definitely probably my least favorite of the mainline Pokemon games in terms of their main story content, but my increasing institutional knowledge of the game's deeper mechanics combined with new things like Mega Evolution, which were introduced in Pokemon X and Y, definitely made me even more interested in the competitive side of things at that point in time. And I think that was definitely true for a lot of people. I think that the combination of X and Y's 3D graphics and its powerful new Mega Pokemon were definitely a huge incentive in terms of getting them interested in the series' competitive side. When I really, truly got into competitive Pokemon was during the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire era.
Okay.
It was during this era that I was like, you know what? More than just participating in online tournaments where I don't have to actually see anyone in person, I'm actually going to go and participate in some actual local in-person tournaments. Nice. So I went to some tournaments in Montreal, went to some tournaments in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, went to some tournaments in Gatineau, which is literally a hop, skip, and a jump north of Ottawa. And I even, at the kind of most daring periods of my brief stint in the competitive Pokemon scene, went to a couple places in the United States. I actually went to the, this would have been the 2015 regional Pokemon competition that was held in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lancaster, a lesser known city that is mostly known from being in the middle of Amish country. Generally, if you're going to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, you're going to enjoy some shoe fly pie alongside the Amish. But in that particular instance, I was going there to play some competitive Pokemon. Didn't do so well in that particular tournament, but it wasn't too financially ruinous because we had driven down to New York, I want to say, and then I had taken a train from New York to Lancaster. So I didn't spend too much money getting there. On another occasion, I went to Tecumseh, which was a small town in Michigan. I had an uncle at the time that was living in Michigan, so I was able to stay at his place. I tried to be fairly economical with a lot of these trips. But then on one particular instance, I went to St. Louis, Missouri, again, solely to play Pokemon Tournament. I did see the Arch, I did see some of the sites and whatnot, but yeah, it was, I definitely splurged a little bit more on that one, and I don't particularly, I don't remember doing particularly well on that one either, so that one was a little bit more of a loss. So the thing that I want to impart on the two of you is that, like, this was a pretty crazy time for me because I was still in university at the time, and I was participating in a lot of these tournaments in between me doing a lot of schooling. And, at the time, the Pokemon games were really lacking in a lot of the quality of life features that we have today. For example, nowadays, if you want to change your Pokemon's nature, if you want to take this Kangaskhan and make it adamant instead of modest, you can do so instantly if you're playing Pokemon Champions, or if you don't have Champions, you can use what are called mints. You give it a little mint, and that will change its nature, right? Doodly dad. But during the days of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you can do that, which was especially tough if you were trying to train a Pokemon that you could only catch one of in the games, like Groudon, for example, which I had on one of my competitive teams at the time. And so I would find myself in these situations where I would finish a tournament one weekend and I would be unsatisfied with the nature of my Groudon. I don't feel like a damn Groudon is really doing it. I think a careful Groudon will be better. And so then I'd be like, okay, I have until next weekend to prepare for a Pokemon tournament. I got to get a new Groudon prepared in that time. And so I straight up got into speed running Omega Ruby. Did you know that you can complete Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in like 3 hours? Because you absolutely can complete those games in like 3 hours if you really commit and really know what you need to do. As I did, because I would do that to get to the very end of the game, lickety split, and get myself a new Groudon with a new nature, because the game just wouldn't allow you to just change it nilly-willy at the time using a mint or using Champion's own system of changing natures. It was really
crazy,
really tiring.
How many times have you played Omega Ruby then?
I probably have played it like, I guess probably like, it wasn't like more than 20, but like maybe approaching 10.
Damn.
And so, yeah.
That's crazy.
It was this crazy period of time where I was both super into both competitive Pokemon and technically speedrunning Pokemon. Unfortunately, I was definitely not a bad player, but I wasn't exactly an incredible player. In the chat, VL Gator says VGC 2016 was nuts. VGC 2016 was a particularly competitive time for the competitive Pokemon scene. It was during that era where not only did you have all of the mega Pokemon that were introduced in Pokemon X and Y, but you had especially powerful mega Pokemon like Mega Kangaskhan, which eventually in subsequent generations would get nerfed, but at the time had crazy abilities and crazy moves at its disposal. Mega Kangaskhan, so Kangaskhan, he's like the kangaroo Pokemon. He has a little baby in his pouch. Mega Kangaskhan takes the baby out of his pouch. And basically what happens is when Mega Kangaskhan would use a move, he would inflict a very powerful move at 100% damage, and then his baby would also inflict the same move at 50% damage. And you combine that with Mega Kangaskhan's like move pool, the moves that were available to him, and you could pull off all sorts of weird, busted shit that just gave people complete headaches. There was a move in the games at the time. I think it still exists in the Pokemon series. I don't think they phased it out, but I don't think that Kangaskhan has it anymore, called Power Up Punch. 40 base power fighting type move, but every single time you execute it, you basically power up your attack by one stage. And so because Mega Kangaskhan would attack twice in a row, you would basically punch twice in a row. It's not a very powerful move, but because you're boosting your attack twice in a row while you're punching, it would just be, completely busted, as Velgator says in the chat. By the way, is it Velgator or the Alligator?
I hope I'm not getting it wrong.
The alligator.
Lucas
Okay.
Gator. Yeah.
Yeah. We know him.
So you had Mega Kangaskhan running around, running roughshod and everything. You had Smeargle. Smeargle's whole gimmick is that he's this Pokemon that can copy any move in the game. And at the time, one of the moves that you could copy was this move called Dark Void. Dark Void is, of course, the signature move of Darkrai, the dark legendary Pokemon. But Darkrai is not allowed generally in most competitive Pokemon formats. So you would have Smeargle use Dark Void instead. Dark Void puts both of your opponent Pokemon to sleep, and it has like something crazy like 80% accuracy at the time. I believe that they have since, not only have they completely nerfed the move, but Smeargle can't even learn Dark Void anymore. They were like, yeah, we gotta fix this after the fact.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the Alligator says a Dark Void can't be used on other Pokemon other than Darkrai. And then on top of all that, you had the basically the cover Pokemon of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. You had Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. Two of like arguably the most busted Pokemon in all of competitive Pokemon. You got Primal Kyogre, which basically puts up Torrential Rain. While Torrential Rain is happening, fire type moves can't even do anything. You'll launch a fire type move and boop, just disappear into a wisp of smoke.
Torrential, so wet.
Yes. And of course, this rain would also power up its own moves. Primal Groudon, on the other hand, puts up intense sunlight that will completely vaporize all water type moves. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre, Groudon, a ground and fire type Pokemon when it becomes Primal Groudon, Kyogre, a water type Pokemon. You would think that Primal Kyogre would be the preferred Pokemon, but really, Primal Groudon kind of came out on top there because Primal Kyogre just didn't have as many kind of coverage options to deal with Primal Groudon when sun was up, whereas when Primal Groudon had sun up, it was just much easier for it to deal with Kyogre. I'm going too deep down the rabbit hole here of specificity of what made the VGC 2016 scene very, very nuts. The Alligator knows exactly what I'm talking about. I do want to give a shout out because he talked about it in the chat a little bit. Mega Rayquaza. I know that I'm probably mispronouncing that. I know Pokemon had a big thing recently where they're like, "No, you're all mispronouncing it. You're all dumb." But Mega Rayquaza also very powerful. And what's crazy about Mega Rayquaza? Again, I know that the two co-hosts that I have right here listening to me don't know about any of this stuff, but most of the time when you got a Mega Pokemon or a Primal Pokemon, you got to give it some sort of stone or item to allow it to Mega Evolve. Mega Rayquaza, unique in that it could Mega Evolve without having to hold a specific item that allowed it to Mega Evolve, which means that it had a free item slot, which means that you could give it its own item that would allow it to basically like grant it some sort of other benefit or boost. So you could give it, if you were really concerned about it getting one hit KO'd, you could give it a Focus Sash. If you wanted it to do extra damage, you could give it a Life Orb. We're getting way off the beaten path. So let's get back into things. So yeah, a lot of these trips that I took around Canada and the United States, not very economically ruinous in the end because I was very kind of economical in terms of how I went about doing them. But again, I wasn't exactly a great competitive battler, but I still had fun for the most part. After participating a lot in competitive Pokemon during 2015, 2016, I was forced to take a bit of a break because I went and studied abroad in Japan. Between the latter half of 2016 until like a third of the way into 2017. Wasn't able to muster up the courage of figuring out how to participate in Pokemon competitions in person in Japan at the time. I'm sure if I had tried a little bit harder, I could have figured it out, but it was tough. However, I did get into Pokemon Sun and Moon and explored the new Pokemon moves and mechanics of said games while I was in Japan. And when I made it back to Montreal in 2017, I eventually started once again participating in in-person Pokemon tournaments. However, almost all the Pokemon competitions I participated in during this era, which was between like September of 2017 until 2018, the following year, were largely just in the vicinity of Montreal. My experience of traveling super far to mixed results during the prior 2015-2016 season had left me a little bit weary. On top of that, like, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Even as far back as the 2015-2016 season, I'd always been a little bit anxious at these sorts of tournaments. It's always anxiety inducing to step up to the plate and potentially lose. But I'm also like, I'm the kind of person whose brain is broken where it's incredibly anxiety inducing for me to win because I want to be a bit of a people pleaser. And it really weighs on my brain to, basically step up to the plate to, potentially beat down the opponent and have to look them in the eye afterwards and say, yeah, I'm good sorry, game. But that's how it goes. Good game.
You suck. I kicked your ass, but
They knocked you out the region.
So by early 2018, I was completely burned out. My last tournament I participated in was in like January of 2018. It was also around this time I graduated from university. I wanted to devote more time to various projects and work opportunities that arose after graduating. So I put down the competitive gloves and basically did not participate in any sort of like competitive Pokemon tournament online or in person or otherwise after that point until the release of Champions. Still steadfastly played Pokemon games, played lots of Pokemon Go, and I actually did still travel around the world to participate in some Go events, like when I went to Vancouver just last year. So I was still very much a globetrotting Pokemon trainer during this time, but in service of a much more relaxed gameplay experience. We'll put it at that. When Champions was announced late last year, was it late last year? Doesn't matter. It was announced last year. Yes. I was interested and I figured I'd check it out, but I was not really crazily anticipating it. Honestly, what really kind of got me excited to get back into competitive Pokemon was the YouTube algorithm recommending me a variety of different like competitive Pokemon players, including Wolf Glick, aka Wolfie VGC. He's one of the more prolific Pokemon YouTubers out there and a very like storied, seasoned competitor within the competitive Pokemon scene. I really respect Wolf Glick a lot, not only because he makes really good, informative videos that do a great job of breaking down and teaching the ins and outs of competitive Pokemon, on a level that anyone can understand, I believe. But also because he's really enthusiastic about making. Yeah, there he is. There he is. Really enthusiastic about making weird and unconventional Pokemon and strategies work in a lot of his videos. If you go on his channel right now, some of his most recent videos are like, everyone says that this new Mega Pokemon that they introduced in Champions sucks, but I bet that I can make him work. And maybe he doesn't stick with that particular Mega Pokemon in the long run, but he's always very kind of open-minded in that regard. And I just really kind of appreciate that. I really appreciate his mentality of, hey, you don't need to be shackled by the limitations of what's currently most popular within the meta to be good at competitive Pokemon. Experiment a little bit, live a little. Yeah, there we go. He's talking a little bit about some of the megas that he's been using recently.
Can you win without spending money on Pokemon Champions?
Ooh,
that's always
add that
a good
to
one.
my watch later for sure.
Unfortunately, that
the answer is no.
video doesn't really apply to me. But I didn't spend that much money. We'll talk about it. So, all that to say, I was primed and prepped to be into Pokemon Champions, but I was still not prepared for the degree to which I was going to be obsessed with this game. This game legitimately has taken over my life to a degree that I'm like, I might need at some point like an accountability buddy to like live in with me. I do have a buddy living with me right now. It's my new dog, Cannoli, who's sitting over on the couch right now. She's I might bring her out at the end, but she's a little tight right now. So I don't want to, bother her too much. But like, yes.
I got to jump in for a sec here, because if that's the case, I have to question. Originally, Samson posed this to you a couple of weeks ago and said, do you want to join us to talk about Pokemon Champions? And you said, I think it might be better if we give it a couple weeks. So am I to assume you've been playing since the start? And if so, what have you seen change and develop as we are now a month out? And why is it better, if it's better, to get in now?
Oh, boy. I mean, I basically have been playing it pretty much since it, like, if not like day one, I definitely jumped in on day two because I probably had something going on that day. It's interesting. When this game first launched, it was the subject of quite a lot of criticism online. A lot of people criticizing various aspects of the game. And there are certainly things to be critical of. I will say right up front, Samson, you talked about it a little bit earlier. This game does not do, unfortunately, a very good job of really like inoculating you to, onboarding you. That's a better word, an easier word. Sometimes I go for the word at the end of the dictionary when you
like that. Inoculate.
Something much easier. Yeah,
like it did explain how to do EVs and traits and how to change all that, but like, what do I want to change? Right. What nature do I want to give my Pokemon if I want to do a certain, like if I want this Gardevoir to be a special attacker? What nature do I give it? What does each thing do, right?
Yes. This game's like tutorial section is, in my opinion, so incredibly inadequate if you're somebody who is new to the competitive VGC scene. For someone like me, and this is why I've been so deeply invested in this game, I don't care. Like I was already familiar with, most of the ins and outs of competitive Pokemon going into this game. And so it's not like it's mostly just, water off my back. But for someone like Samson, yes, this game is, unfortunately not nearly as thorough as it needs to be. And I know that people say, well, you have people like, Wolfie VGC on YouTube. You have all these other competitive Pokemon content creators that can teach you. And yes, those people are readily available and they do good work. And I really respect them for putting the time into, educate the rest of us, less good players. But you really need to, this game really needs something much more comprehensive than what is currently inside of it right now. Even like putting aside stuff like, what kind of nature should I have? How should I invest my stat points? What should have sort of moves I should be using? I feel like the just core mechanics of this game are like not thoroughly explained at all. Like there is I know that I said that I wouldn't play any more of Pokemon Champions while we were doing this podcast because I want to be here and present and whatnot, but I'm just opening it up so that I can go into the tutorial section, the battle tutorial section of the game.
Don't tell me it's entirely like readable guides.
Oh, is there? Did I miss that?
No. To their credit, the tutorials are all like
playable.
little like mini battles.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But you have things like, oh, here's a tutorial on terrains. Here's a thing on weather conditions. Here's a thing on status conditions. But the thing about these tutorials is it's not like, all right, here we're going to teach you, here's the status conditions tutorial. We're going to first teach you about Thunder Wave and how that inflicts paralysis. Next, we're going to teach you about Pokemon being burned. Instead, it'll be like, all right, here's an example of what a status condition is. It's burning. Okay, cool. We don't need to teach you about anything.
Cool.
That's
pretty much
There's
it.
6 other ones.
Yeah.
You'll get used to it.
You'll figure it out.
I know nobody loves it when you armchair quarterback game development, but if I were making this game, I would be incredibly meticulous. I would have hundreds of tutorials being like, all right, here's paralysis, here's burning, here's freezing, here's confusion, here's infatuation, here's
it's
poisoning,
almost like
here's badly poisoning, here's leech seeding, here's
badly
stealth rock,
poisoning.
Here's
I've never been. I hope I don't get badly poisoned.
I was about
you
to
get
say
the idea.
it's almost as if there could be like a tree where the main topic is statuses. And if you take that initial tutorial, hey, now you understand the basics of what this is. Beyond that, let's look at a tutorial for each different status. Beyond that, you not just have poisoning, you also have badly poisoning or badly poisoned or whatever you said. You can see how that would work a lot better. And it's interesting to me because this is, in my mind, I mean, Pokemon being the largest property in the world, you would think they would want that fleshed out, especially for the launch. Maybe when it comes to launching on mobile devices, because that's another, 50 million people, potential players. Maybe they have it more fleshed out at that point, but you would think that's something they would want to get new people like myself, or even people who do have some familiarity like Samson in a little deeper. So yeah, I'm surprised to hear that that's maybe a little lackluster.
It's very, very inadequate. And the other thing I'll say is like, the process of like recruiting and keeping Pokemon stored in this game is a little bit of a hassle. And that is even coming from someone like me who has most of the other Pokemon games. The way that this game works, right, is there is this gotcha mechanic where you can go to this ranch and this cowgirl basically opens the doors to the ranch and is like, here are 8 Pokemon that you can recruit onto your party. However, you don't need to do that if you have like all of the Pokemon that are currently available in this game in other Pokemon games.
Right.
If you have, a Pelipper in Pelipper's the Pelican Pokemon. If you have a Pelipper in Pokemon's Sword and Shield, you can transfer that to home. You can transfer that into this game. You have a Sneasler in Pokemon Legends Arceus. You can transfer that to home, transfer that into this game, so on, so forth, so on, so forth. And so someone like me who has most of these games and has access to most of these, ersatz Pokemon, not difficult at all for me to kind of craft the team that I wanted without having to rely on almost any of the gotcha stuff. I still did the gotcha stuff a little bit because there's a couple of like new Pokemon that they introduced in Scarlet and Violet that I didn't really get access to that I wanted to have access to in this game.
Yeah. So question about that.
Yes.
From what it sounds like, if you have it in home, import Pelipper to Champions, then you can like modify that Pelipper however you want. Like it doesn't even matter if the Pelipper came and it had like a adamant whatever trait.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can like modify that Pelipper however you want. You can modify any Pokemon however you want. Give it whatever moves are currently available to it in its move pool, change around its stats, its natures, its, effort values, all that stuff. All those changes are reset when you transfer that Pokemon back into home. But then if you transfer that Pokemon back from home back into the game, then it will relearn all of the changes and new moves that you gave it.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
like, almost like it's almost like, hey, yeah, you own this Pokemon. Now you have access to it in the game. Modify him however you like. But he still exists as its natural state somewhere else. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is again, this is to what I was saying earlier when we were talking a little bit about, the tutorials in this game. This game is kind of custom built for a Pokemon fan like me, where I didn't really have that much of an issue with the gacha mechanics because, again, I already had access to most of the Pokemon that I wanted to import into this game. But if you're picking this game up and you do not have much experience with most of the other Pokemon games, I definitely understand the frustrations around, man, we got to rely on this annoying farm gacha mechanic to get more of these Pokemons into the game. Again, I was able to transfer in my own Pelipper, my own Charizard, my own Mons, because I already had access to them in the other games. But like, if you don't have those resources, if you've not already purchased like 4 or 5 other Pokemon games, it is a little bit of a frustrating experience in that regard.
Which could be true because sorry, I'll let you finish your thought. Because this game is free, it exists outside of the mainline game, so there very much could be like Shmojo, SirDrJM over there who doesn't play the mainline Pokemon games. He wants to get into Champions. Now he has to rely on this gacha to get the Pokemon he wants. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah. And here's the thing, whether you're someone like me who has most of the other Pokemon games or someone who doesn't have most of the Pokemon games, either way, it is a real pain that the game really restricts the amount of Pokemon that you currently can hold at any given time in your box without paying. If you pay for the monthly subscription, you get like 1,000 spaces. You get way more than you could ever need.
A ton.
But if you don't pay, you initially start, I want to say, at like 25. And then if you each subsequent like rank up the competitive ladder that you manage to complete, you gain a couple of slots, which I appreciated, but eventually you hit a wall where you stop earning more slots. And so then at that point, I was up to 50. And I was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll get the like welcome pass. It's only $10. It's a one-time purchase. All its benefits are permanent. So I'll get that. That got me an extra 50 spots. And initially it's like, oh man, I have so many Pokemon spots available now. But very quickly, after transferring Mon after Mon after Mon into the game, those spots filled up very quickly. And it's the thing about it is like, technically what I can do is I can just take Pokemon that I'm currently not using in the game, and I can transfer them back to home, and that will free up spots in game. Right. But it's just not, it's not the most convenient system. And again, if you're not willing to pay for this stuff, it's just, it feels very stingy. The problem is that right now in game, there's not exactly a, huge pool of Pokemon to choose from, which is, well, we'll talk about that later because I have some a potentially controversial take on that particular aspect of this game. So I understand that, like, they didn't feel the need to make it so that you could hold every single Pokemon currently available in this game all at once in your PC box. But I wish that they had been a little bit less stingy with that stuff.
Yeah. I find that so interesting because I've championed it before on this show. You know me, like Pokemon TCG Live, which is the online client available on mobile and PC of the real life Pokemon TCG. It is so free and so generous with all the resources that it gives that like right off the bat, your starter decks are literally the S tier decks that are out right now. Like you could take that list to a regional, and if you know what you're doing, well, do some mods. You could do really well with it. In that game, I have also not spent a dime. Now, I spent a lot of money on real Pokemon cards, but maybe that's why. But on that game, I have not spent a dime, and it gives you so many resources to craft any card you want in pretty much any rarity and alt art you want, and it's completely free. So, like, nothing is gated other than like certain cosmetics over a certain time, but playing the game wise, like any card you want to use and play the game, you could just craft it and it works.
You would have hoped they do something similar.
Like, yeah,
and
like
who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll
that could
deem
be
this
the goal.
beta test, and when they bring it to mobile, they'll make things much nicer for everyone else.
Launch 2.0.
Yeah. But here's the thing. For all of those issues, and I do stand by all of those critiques that I just leveled at this game, I'm still tremendously enjoying this game, and I think this game actually does a lot right. I think that the ease with which the game allows you to change up and modify your Pokemon is so incredibly satisfying if you want to just experiment, change its ability, change its nature, change its stat distribution, change its moves. Very, very, very easy to do so. I do wish that, whenever you want to change any of the aspects of your Pokemon, you need to spend this currency in game called VP. VP, given out pretty liberally. However, I am a little bit annoyed when it's like, all right, I want to experiment a little bit with putting Protect on Gengar. All right, now I'm going to make him forget Protect, and now I'm going to make him learn another move. I'm going to make him learn Substitute. Okay, I experimented around with Substitute. I actually want to go back to Protect.
Yeah.
And if I go back to Protect, I still have to spend as much as I spent teaching Protect to Gengar the first time, even though I already taught him in the past. I can kind of understand the mentality of why they wouldn't do this, but I would appreciate it if I've already taught a move to a Pokemon in the past and then I had it forget that move, make it so that I can relearn that move at like a very steep discount. Like make it only like
5 instead of
30% of its cast. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, I paid for the move to attach to this Pokemon. Like I should have access to this move.
Yeah. But that aside,
quick question though.
Yes.
So you can't have two Gengars. Like you can't have a Gengar that is your Protect Gengar and your Gengar that is your Substitute Gengar.
No, that is like one of the kind of core rules of competitive Pokemon is that generally you cannot have the same species of Pokemon on your same teams. And there's,
but even
interesting
in your box.
Right.
Yeah.
There are interesting and weird in your box. No. You can have multiple of the same Pokemon in your box. No problem. Because they know that like you might have a Gengar that's more defensive oriented, one that's more offensive oriented, et cetera, but they don't want you to have, they don't allow you to double up
have
in
a
your
team of Gengars.
That's one of the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But yeah, getting back on track, like, again, don't love that aspect of teaching and relearning Pokemon moves, but otherwise, I really do appreciate just how easy it is to, again, customize your Pokemon. Again, coming off of years and years and years of this stuff being so obfuscated and so annoying and having to speedrun Pokemon Omega Ruby in under 3 hours so that I can get a new Groudon with a new nature because they didn't have mints in the game at the time that would allow me to change the nature instantly.
That's amazing.
Love that. I talked about it a little bit earlier. This game gives out VP, which is its kind of currency for changing and modifying your Pokemon moves and buying stuff from the store pretty liberally. Again, don't love, the whole thing about having to, the game recharging you full price for relearning moves. However, what I do appreciate is that the game basically has this crazy kind of comprehensive achievement section where it's like, hey, there are achievements for doing things like winning games with dark type moves, mega evolving Pokemon, standard stuff like that. And then it's like, all right, here is every single Pokemon that's currently available in the game right now. Each Pokemon kind of has like its own individual simplified skill tree where it's like, if you use this particular Pokemon in like 10 battles and you win those 10 battles, you get extra VP for doing so. Okay. And this is for every single Pokemon in the game. And so I love it because it's like, again, going back to Wolfie VGC, Wolf Glick, this game is sort of built for people like me and people like Wolf who are like, man, I don't want to just like go to like the most meta Pokemon. I kind of want to experiment a little bit. I want to try new and unusual options and see how they fare in battle. And this game rewards you for doing so. This game's like, hey, are you using like a bunch of different Pokemon? Cool. We'll give you a bunch of VP for putting in the time with a bunch of different Pokemon. Whereas if you only use like a core team of 6 Pokemon and never stray from those core 6, you'll earn your VP for using those 6, but then eventually funds will dry up. And so I appreciate that the game really incentivizes you to experiment and try as many different Pokemon as possible. And yes, on this last thing I'll say is on the subject of the Pokemon available, I said earlier that this is going to be a potentially contentious opinion, but I actually don't think in this particular crowd it's going to be that contentious because Samson, you were reading one of the letters from the community earlier where someone talked about the like pool of Pokemon currently available in the game, and they were talking about how like they didn't initially like love the kind of like limited available pool of Pokemon, but then they kind of grew to like it over time, or they don't mind it that much. Like from day one, I've pretty much been totally fine with the pool of Pokemon available in this game not being the biggest pool of Pokemon ever. I think this game made a mistake. And that mistake was when they first advertised this game, when they first showed off footage of this game last year, they showed off a bunch of Pokemon in those trailers that would not prove to be in the final version of this game.
Oh,
Is it false advertising? I don't know if that's a too strong of a term or not, but they definitely showed off Pokemon that were not available in the final version of the game at launch, and I don't think that was a good call. However, I do think that the limited selection of Pokemon currently available in the game is actually good. I think that if they had started off with every single Pokemon currently available, all the Super Megas, all the Primal Pokemon, Mega Rayquaza, all those folks, I think that the metagame would be a little swamped and a little messy and a little all over the place and even more just difficult for newcomers to really kind of glam onto.
Sure.
And I think that the current pool of Pokemon, which is much smaller, but like pretty well balanced, is a lot more fun. Again, a lot more balanced. And overall, I think it's just a good starting point for this game going forward.
Yeah, like I agree. I do like the smaller pool as well. I think balance wise, that's way easier to do than 1,000 whatever plus multiple forms. Like one side of me is like, but how crazy would that be? Like what kind of meta would shape? Like, yes, dump it all at once. I could see why they held back. They have to release things in a certain order to build hype and have reason for people to come back long term. But I don't mind the smaller pool. I think it does help someone like me who is competitive curious, like wrap my head around just the core systems of it. There was some murmur at the beginning of the release that like certain items were missing, like certain items were bugged, sure, but certain items, certain Pokemon, like they were missing. Was that a big deal? Was that like actually detrimental, or just part of that more contained vision for now?
I mean, I need to be careful when it comes to talking about things that potentially might have been bugged, because I don't want to say, I didn't notice it and therefore it doesn't exist to me and therefore it wasn't an issue. Because for all I know, some of these things were issues and I just wasn't paying very close attention, or I just wasn't really dabbling with those particular things that people took issue with. But it really was not all that detrimental to me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do think the smaller roster does help with that, but it also does sound like overall, Cozy, like your opinion of the game is this is exactly what you were looking for in a competitive Pokemon game. Weird quirks aside, everything's got to have some quirks. Like this is pretty much what you're looking for, and you'll continue playing, you think?
Oh, 100%. I have already looked into participating in my first like IRL in real life Pokemon Champions tournament, my first one since early 2018, which I potentially will be doing this weekend.
That's wicked.
This weekend.
So yeah, we'll see how things turn out. We'll see how things turn out. This is going to be, this is one of those moments where it's like either I'm going to do great and I'm going to walk out of it just so incredibly happy, or it's just going to be a complete shit show. There's no in between.
I'm so curious to hear about that because, like, as a TCG player, going to locals is my highlight of the week. But the TCG, you can't play it. Well, you can play it online, but it's supposed to be played in person. So you're supposed to go to your local game store and play with another person. I'm curious how that translates to the VGC, because you are bringing your Switch, you're plunking it. I've seen it at the regionals. You're plunking it across from the other player, and then you like link together with the code or whatever, and you just battle.
Nice.
So I am curious how that's gonna like I'm actually curious to try it. Like I saw a couple locals popping up for the VGC, and I just need to find a time to go. Well, first I gotta figure out my team and my game plan, and then I'll head down.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about our trials and tribulations in the competitive Pokemon games. Also, I hope that you didn't hear anything accidentally, because I opened up Blue Sky and a video started auto playing on my end, and I hope that you didn't hear it.
yeah.
Hey, I disconnected, so you're fine if a little video came through there.
That's for later listeners. That's pre-show antics that you can only catch on twitch.tv/growuplevelup. So make sure you stay subscribed there. But go on. You were saying about
I was going to say, if you got any hankering, sorry, Cozy Brain is short-circuiting right now. If you need any pointers or tips on how to dominate the battlefield in Pokemon Champions, I am more than happy to put you through the ropes and teach you what you need to know.
Sounds like the answer is my favorite, Mega Gengar.
Mega Gengar is good, but Mega Gengar is definitely one of those Mega Pokemon where you kind of got to know what you're doing, because it's a very high risk, high reward. It has an interesting ability called Shadow Tag that traps all non-ghost type Pokemon in with it. And so you got to make sure that you know, like,
it's Mauga.
The ability to trap other Pokemon is really powerful, but you got to make sure that you know what you want to do when those other Pokemon.
Otherwise, you just get wiped because you're trapped in there with them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, this is one more question for you, Cozy, but
yes,
maybe you don't want to be number 1 ranked in the world. You're happy with just reaching Master Ball. And is that the highest rank right now, Master Ball?
You're
happy with reaching
a Champions rank.
Yeah.
There is a titular Champions rank that I have never seen sight of. Again, highest I've ever gotten is Master Ball rank 3. So the idea is you got like Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, and then Master Ball.
4,
when you
3,
get to Master
2,
Ball,
1.
it'll start telling you like how many other people in the world you're better at. And so you start like, oh, you're better than like X amount of people. No, it's not. Sorry, it's the reverse of that, where it's like where you're ranked amongst everyone else. So it'll tell you you're
top
like
500.
10,000 ranked in the world. And the idea is if you want to get to Master Ball 3, you have to get to like the top 50,000. If you want to get to Master Ball 2, you have to get top 10,000. If you want to get to Master Ball 1, I forget the number, but it's very low.
It stops being percentages and it is a hard number. Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
I like that. Sorry, so my second half to that question is, can you get that high using your favorites or whatever from whatever is available right now?
If you're
or do you
Wolf
have to
Glick,
play like meta?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're Wolf Glick and you're so like incredibly good at the game, you probably can. But if you're not the best player in the world, you definitely will want to have a couple of meta Pokemon on your team. It's always a bit of a compromise. You definitely want to use some of the Pokemon that you love, because otherwise, what's the point in doing any of this stuff? But you will have to like be mindful of the meta for sure.
Okay. That's how I feel right now with the TCG. Like the Dragapult deck archetype is so dominant, and I'm like, man, I like playing Dragapult. I made it my thing in Seattle. I'm so tired of playing this, so I started playing fun stuff. And I haven't been winning as much, but I'm having fun, which is part of it, I guess. Awesome. So, Cozy, I asked you if you're going to keep playing. You are going to keep playing. Jordan, has our conversation tonight like swayed you? How do you feel about Pokemon Champions? Is it something that you want to put time into?
As I drop things on my desk. I mean, it's so interesting because it is the kind of thing that appeals to me in the competitive nature, and of course, the fact that it's Pokemon. Like, I would like to try it out at least. Your thoughts on onboarding make me hesitate a little bit, but I think I know enough from my experience around Pokemon. Even like I know what you're talking about when you talk about IVs and things like that. And obviously I've played enough games to understand currencies and things like that in games too. So like, I would like to, I'm still hesitant. But I mean, who knows? One of these days I might just get the itch and dip my toes. So
fair enough. For me, myself, and I just need to find. Well, that's just excuses. I was gonna say I need to find time in my day, but I can always make time in my day if I wanted to do it. I think right now my competitive itch is being met with the TCG side, just like a sister game to the VGC. But at the same time, I am also feeling the TCG's a little, I don't know if stale is the wrong word, but it's like, okay, I've been there, done that. Like, and I've been to a TCG regional, and it's a lot of fun. Cozy, you should definitely go to a regional again one day. They're so much bigger than they were back in 2016.
So earlier today, in anticipation of doing this podcast, I was looking online, like, what are some of the other like Pokemon competitive events that are like planned for like the like East Coast of like the United States? Because I'm not going to
Yeah.
hop on a plane and like travel to the West Coast anywhere. I'm not going to go to the thing that's happening in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's this weekend. Yeah, have some buddies there right now.
You know, I'm looking around and it's like I could totally see myself if they have another thing in Lancaster. I'll go back to Lancaster. That wasn't too expensive to do, so I'll definitely do that.
Okay, yeah. Like I definitely plan on doing more regionals next year as well. Like it's such a cool and fun experience, and to do it for the VGC side instead of the TCG side, I think would also be another cool experience. Given that it's new, it's fresh. There's going to be lots of fresh new people as well, just like me. So if it was the time for me to do that and travel and go down to whether it's Seattle, hopefully they have it again in Vancouver this year. Maybe I make the trek out to Toronto. I don't know if you'd go out there, Cozy.
Toronto. I mean, that would be really convenient for me. Unfortunately, there have not been many big Pokemon events that have happened in Montreal. Years ago, they had a Pokemon Go Safari Zone in Montreal, which was really fun. But since then, the Pokemon Company doesn't send Montreal a lot of love. But Toronto, I mean, that's close enough that I would absolutely go to Toronto for Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, they usually have their regional in, which is like, why would you go there in January each year? It's freezing cold. And this past year, I saw like a lot of people get their flights delayed. They were like freezing cold in a snowstorm there. In Vancouver, it was like 10 degrees and sunny. And I'm like, you guys
I was going to say, why? I am really curious why they would have it at that time of the year. Because like, I love to go to... I'll tell people right here, right now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, man, I really want to visit Toronto, go to Toronto in the summer. Because in the summer, not only do you have Fan Expo Toronto, but you also have VX, the Canadian National Exhibition, which is like a big, like outdoor, like state fair mixed with like a bunch of other crazy cool stuff. Years ago, before the pandemic, before the Panini, Greg Miller and company from Kind of Funny attended the gaming garage component of the Canadian exhibition over in Toronto. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, go in the summer. I don't know why they would ask us Pokemon fans to go down in January. It's because they have us by the balls and they know that
they know we'll do it.
Championship points.
But yeah, like that is something that really interests me, is to get in deep enough and good enough and have a team and be ready for a regional or a big event like that. So that's kind of what's keeping me one hand on the Switch for Champions, as well as I can't wait for the mobile version. I think that'll be another boost for the game. Awesome. Well, we covered a lot in today's episode, talking about, is Pokemon Champions still worth playing 1 month later and beyond? Sounds like everyone's still competitively curious. Kozibear, you got the sauce, you got the itch, you're ready to go deep. And I find that really inspiring, and it's inspiring me to also take the dive and get going as well.
I mean, last thing I'll say as we're wrapping up, like, obviously there's a lot of growth for me to do, a lot that I need to learn to get better at competitive Pokemon. I would say that the other big thing, though, that I need to get better at is learning to manage my time better, because I currently am caring for 2 pets in the house right now, while the rest of my family is over on an international trip. And I definitely have felt more than a little guilty about not giving the rest of the household enough tender TLC while I've been Pokemon gaming. So I definitely need to learn to manage my time a little bit better, as much as I need to learn how to be the very best that there ever was.
Hey, that's the story of our lives. You know, you can't. It's hard to balance life with playing games. When it comes out on mobile, though, you know, that's a little easier to transport around.
Walk the dog and play at the same time.
The Switch, yeah. Could be. Jordan, thank you for joining tonight. Do you have any closing thoughts on the game as well?
I mean, the funny thing is, I see so many comparisons between this game and almost any other competitive game that you and I talk about, you know, on a regular basis, Samson. Like, the comparison with 1,000 Pokemon translates so directly to League of Legends, and in a way to Overwatch as well, which we talk about all the time. with Stadium, their newest mode, they slowly rolled out heroes available in that mode, specifically because that mode has even more to it than the base game. And they knew it would be overwhelming to say, here's a roster of, and in that game, 30 heroes. So they started with 8 or something like that. And slowly, as time has gone on, they've introduced more and more into that mode. And it's funny hearing you guys talk about Champions in a similar way, but obviously a much larger scale when there's, a pool of 1,000 characters to choose from. So, I will never say never. And like you say, with it eventually coming to mobile, that could be the entryway that I find myself jumping in. So, yeah.
Ooh, okay. I can't wait to see people like pull up with their phones to the regionals.
Yeah.
They already do that with Pokemon Go, so it'll be interesting to see this one. Well, Jordan, Alex, thank you for joining me tonight on Grow Up, Level Up Sunset Selects, talking all about, is Pokemon Champions worth your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5? Is it worth playing 1 month later and beyond? Sounds like it is. Sounds like there's lots of things to be excited about as years to come. Kozibear, tell us where the good people can find you, and feel free to plug whatever you want to plug right now.
Sure. You can find me over on Blue Sky. I'm at Kozibear.bluesky.social. That's KOZIBEAR .bluesky.social. If you know me from my prior appearances on the Grow Up, Level Up podcast, you'll know that I make a lot of small little video games on the side. Some of these video games I make for Kind of Funny, and we play them together on Kind of Funny's Happy Hour podcast. Or, as happened very recently, we sometimes play them on Kind of Funny's main feed, which is what happened. I'm currently loading YouTube. I should have done this ahead of time, but alas, I didn't have the foresight to realize that I should do so.
Trying to find the episode.
Finding the episode isn't difficult. The difficulty is getting this damn page to load. I don't know what the hell is going on with Mozilla Firefox. Let's see here.
Is it the YouTube video you're talking about?
Yes.
It was an episode.
If you go over to Kind of Funny Games YouTube channel, and here we go. It was streamed months ago on the Kind of Funny Games on Kind of Funny Games YouTube channel. Their episode PlayStation Trivia with a special twist. That twist is that I co-hosted that episode and created the Jeopardy-inspired trivia game for the hosts of that particular episode to play. So go and check that out if you want to see Cozy in action on Kind of Funny's main feed content.
That was an exciting discovery while watching it when it aired.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we were chatting like on the same day too. You didn't mention it, so that was really fun. Awesome. Jordan, where can people find you?
You can find me all over the internet at SirDrJM. That's at SirDrJM, especially over on Instagram and twitch.tv/SirDrJM, where I'm streaming a little bit here and there, trying to get in there more. But I'm looking forward to maybe trying out some mixtape on stream. And there will be a special appearance, sneak peek, or being unveiled right now over on Heroic Headgear's channel coming up very soon. So I'll just tease that.
Very cool. Keep an eye on twitch.tv/SirDrJM for that, as well as this show, Grow Up Level Up. You can find at Grow Up Level Up everywhere you browse the internet. Here on Twitch, over on YouTube is where we mainly are uploading once a week, as well as podcast services around the globe. Make sure you follow at Grow Up Level Up for more discussions on the games that you should be playing your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5, or maybe the games that we played growing up and why they're important to us today. We talk to guests, we cover the news, we do reviews, and all that kind of fun stuff that you like to hear us yap about. Next week's episode, I believe we are going to try to cover Mixtape, which came out today and is getting like insane reviews. And I'm like, all right, I'm in for a short indie adventure music video. Color me interested. Jordan and I are going to try to play Mixtape this weekend so that we are ready to talk about it next week. Kozibear, are you interested in Mixtape at all while we're on this topic?
I'm certain that I will play it at some point. Actually, what was the prior game that Beethoven and Dinosaur made?
Artful Escape.
I actually, way back in the day, back in the prehistoric age, because it was called Beethoven and Dinosaur, when I used to stream myself playing random games over on twitch.tv, I actually streamed The Artful Escape and what's his name? Johnny Galvatron, the guy that helped co-develop this game, actually came in the Twitch chat and chatted for a little bit.
That's
so
cool.
I have a lot of respect for that team. I don't know when I'm going to get to Mixtape, but I remember enjoying The Artful Escape just fine. So I'm sure I'll get to it at some point.
Right on. That is amazing. Yeah, excited. Wow, that's cool. Johnny Galvatron, what a great name.
I did some mad Googling when they had him on Kind of Funny. The two of them, I forget what the other one's name is as well, but I had to look it up and see if those were their real names, and seemingly they are. So,
whoa, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the.
I think the other one's name is Woody something. Anyways,
and also speaking of cool names, you can find me at Samsonxp, aka Samson, on all socials at Samsonxp, as well as on Blue Sky as smsn.bluesky.social if you want to keep up with my antics. Before we send off this live recording to a raid, and we'll go raid someone, thank you so much for joining us. And Jordan, what are our wise words to close out the show?
Our wise words this week gotta catch them all.